Okay, here we go.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to let a few more people filter in, and then we'll get started in a minute or two. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Karen O'Tony. I am a director of ecosystem at Hyperledger, and I am hosting our Hyperledger In-depth webinar today, an hour with Pravici on verifiable credentials and how they are bringing students and employees back to school while respecting privacy in this era of COVID that we are all in. I want to welcome Ashish, Mahesh, Jason, and Kevin, who will all be taking turns sharing more about this topic with you. Before we get started, I have a little bit of housekeeping to go over. So as with all meetings at Hyperledger, we follow an antitrust policy. You can find information about this on the hyperledger.org website and also at our wiki. This session is being recorded currently. We are also live on YouTube, so you can find this session to watch again on the events page of our website or also on our YouTube page as well. These slides will be available that are presented today to download on the events page on our website. Now, for how we do these sessions, of course, I think at this point, we're all quite experienced with the webinar format, but we like to make it a little bit different. We'd love to get your engagement and involvement throughout the session, so you don't have to keep your questions until the very end. Please feel free to raise your hand. I'll be monitoring the chat and the Q&A box to see if you have any questions. So raise your hand, post something in the chat, post something in the Q&A box, wherever it is that you want to bring up a topic or ask for clarification on what the Pravici team is presenting. please feel free to do so, and I will be bringing you in during the session. And if not, we will definitely leave time at the end for questions as well. So without further ado, I will invite Ashish to share his slides and the Pravici team to get us started.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Karen. I will go ahead and share my screen and we will start the presentation. Hope everyone can see.
Yes, we got it. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mahesh.
Yeah. Hey, thanks everyone for attending today, and thanks Karen and Hyperledger for giving us the opportunity to present what we have been working on for more than a year. So I just wanted to kind of bring us, kind of educate the audience here as to our involvement in this area, as well as the larger Hyperledger ecosystem. Just as an introduction to what Pravici is, was founded about 8 years ago. Primarily, we are all a number of ex-Oracle folks who have been working on loyalty and CRM for a number of years. So out of our experience working in this area, especially in the loyalty space, we found that maybe there is a good application for using blockchain technologies in a loyalty context in order to create what we call a consortium loyalty, where a set of cooperating companies would like to offer a loyalty program, and a great way to share the promotions, the data, and so on and so forth would be by using Ledger. Started working on this project with a small prototype using Ethereum, and ultimately switched to Fabric as it matured out. And so we joined the Hyperledger Fabric, the Hyperledger group as a general member in 2018, and I've been closely working with the whole Hyperledger ecosystem. So that was our first brush, and we have continued to invest and build out that product. A year and a half ago, almost close to 2 years again, we met with Evernym, another active participant in the Hyperledger community, and we wanted to apply 2 new technologies to our solution space, which is using Hyperledger Indy and Aries to hold credential data. So when I mean credential data, think about any loyalty application. So one of the big problems that we face today in this world is companies are collecting data about their customer, and invariably it's stored in some database and it gets hacked, So we thought maybe there is a smarter way to do this for the next generation of loyalty, which is, why don't we hold the PII and credentials of a customer in a verifiable credential? They can hold it in their phone wallet, so to speak, in a mobile app, for example. And then we ask permission from the customer, hey, can I look at your month of birth so that I can give you a right offer? Can I look at your zip code, for example, to give you the best offer? This way, we do not keep customers' PII in any of CRM or loyalty systems. So that's where we started with our journey with Hyperledger Indy and Aries, talking to Evernym and using their stack to build out this particular concept. Of course, as everybody is familiar, last year year before, we started to see the effects of COVID, and then we thought maybe this is again a good technology for us to use to solve this problem of holding a credential, whether it be a test result or it is COVID-19 vaccine, credential. And so that's what got us to build this product called Pravici Pocket Cred. So now we are also, just to kind of lay out into the future, we are looking at what do we do with this in the larger context of health data. And we are kind of starting to work towards this idea that every person who's, all of us have health insurance. Most of us have access to what they call as a health portal. Would it be nice when you log into your health portal that you can pick all the data that's most important to you, your procedures, your medications, of course, your vaccinations, whatever else that you need. And if you could potentially store that as a verifiable credential in a secure wallet. You be the transporter of information. So as you go from doctor to doctor, provider to provider, this might be the right way in which you control what is it that you store and what is it that you are willing to share, right? So that's kind of where we are going with our product, and working with some major, there's some prospects who are interested in this idea, and then we are exploring that with them. Next, Ashish. So just a set of tools and partners that we have worked with. Like I said, we come from a history of working with Oracle and worked with Salesforce and so on and so forth. So you'll see Salesforce later in the demonstration, where we have built an add-on to the Salesforce Health Cloud. They have a product called Vaccines. So for the administration of vaccines and the distribution of vaccines. So basically, straight out of that system, we have added Pocket Cred so that you can issue a credential straight out of there. And like I said, we have been a Hyperledger member for all these reasons as we continue to consume more and more technologies from the Hyperledger stack. Next, Ashish. So what is Pocket Cred, right? It is issuing, to this crowd who are quite familiar with possibly the verifiable credentials, and we will go over all those details also, because there may be others who are new to this area. But the idea is, using the verifiable credential standard, is to issue a privacy preserving credential that somebody can securely hold. This credential is signed by the authority that issued the credential, maybe the doctor's office which issued the vaccination, or the health insurance, or whosoever is the authority that issued the procedure or vaccination to you. They sign it, you store it, and you present it only when you see it is appropriate to present it. And through software, you can verify that what you presented has not been tampered with, and they can make some judgments based on what is it that you have presented. So that's in essence the three-party concept in verifiable credentials: an issuer, a holder, and a verifier. We'll kind of expand on that later in the presentation. Next. So again, we are seeing, like Karen told in her introduction, a number of things are happening, right? People are, asked to produce a test result because they have to travel. Lots and lots of colleges and even employers, even the federal government employees now, have to get themselves vaccinated. And I want to just state on set that we are the technology providers. If you have to check the status of the COVID-19 vaccination of an employee for the welfare, and that's what a company has determined is the right thing to do, I'm sure they are following all the other laws which allow for people to opt out and make accommodations for them, right? So we are not here advocating one thing or the other. But if you do have to do, what is the best way to do it? And we believe that using verifiable credentials is probably the least intrusive and the most privacy preserving for any employer or student or the public to be able to get access to this information and present it only with their own, personal choice, and not have somebody else share it with third parties without you being in the middle. So we want to squarely put the person in the middle of this equation. And that's what motivated us with this. So let's start with a quick introduction of how our product works. Ashish, go ahead. We can't hear Ashish.
I think you just need to unmute, Ashish.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really sorry. Yeah.
University admin.
Yeah, let me play it again. Yeah.
Now that things are turning around, we want to make sure that everyone's health remains protected. We're all looking forward to being together again. So how can university administrators verify proof of vaccination, or at minimum, a negative test result, while keeping the whole process easy, safe, and confidential. PocketCred bridges these needs by leveraging blockchain technology. People are first enabled to store information securely in a digital wallet. And when they need to confirm their health status with an institution, PocketCred performs the go-between verification. Only the results of the check are stored. Everything else stays confidential in the personal wallet. It's easy to use, secure, and gives people power over their information. For example, Angela here already got her COVID-19 vaccine along with her CDC card, but losing it is a real worry. Using PocketCred, she simply takes a photo of it and uploads it to the app. She's then issued a credential with that information to her digital wallet. And Alex here, on the other hand, isn't vaccinated yet, but he did get a negative on a PCR test from the campus clinic. In just a few simple steps, the doctor fills out the digital certificate. All Alex has to do is scan the QR code, and voila, he can carry his credential with him wherever he goes. PocketCred is also easily integrated with any other health system, such as an electronic health record or immunization system. So with the health status of students and employees verified through PocketCred, the university health coordinators are confident the campus is as safe from the virus as they can make it. And whether it's entering class or going to the homecoming game, all it takes is a quick QR scan at the door to check to get on with the joy of being around other people again. Learn more at pocketcred.com.
Thank you, Ashish. You heard a number of terms in there. Right? What is the role of blockchain? Do you really need the blockchain? We'll answer all those questions as we go along, because this is an evolving area. Hyperledger and the associated organizations are actively involved in this, and we are fortunate to be able to participate in those and be abreast of the latest developments and standards. So there are various stages to this. So what we have found in our work in this area is we kind of have to take the baby steps and then look towards a future where more sophisticated techniques can be applied. So today what we have is in our product, two options, right? One is using FHIR, I think it's called Fast Healthcare Interoperability Standard, is the concept of smart health cards. And for example, the state of California, if you take a shot in the state, you can go in and request such a smart health card. What it is it is a digitally signed credential, which has the minimum amount of information, your last name, your first name, your date of birth, that's it. And then of course the vaccine details. Is it dose 1, dose 2, lot number, when did you take it? And so optionally some information on where you took the shot, right? And the date you took the shot. So that's kind of what a smart health card is. It is a digitally signed document. We'll go into some details in there, which is essentially compressed and stored as a QR code. So you take this QR code, which tells who you are in at least the most minimal information with the date of birth and so on. And then on the, it also has the information about the actual vaccination record or records. And that's pretty much it. That's all there is to it. So that a verifier can check who you are, and they probably use a second type of verification if they need to verify that if it says Mahesh Balan, that you are Mahesh Balan, they could look at a driver's license or something at most. So that was the standard of the smart health card, which is also supported by the Vaccine Credentials Initiative. So we'll talk about that and how we constructed our system to support that. And then I call option 2 as the full Monty, right? Which is, this is where we used Evernym as our backend agent and are able to completely use all the features and functions of the verifiable credential standard, whether it is communication securely from holder to issuer and holder to verifier through DITCOM, which is decentralized ID communication, the concept of verifiable presentations, wherein you can even do a composite. If you have multiple credentials, you can take a few attributes from each of the credentials and present it. Selective disclosure, again, you can just minimize the amount of data that you present, even though the credential might have all this information. You can only present part of the credential. Zero knowledge proofs, wherein, and this is, famous examples like your date of birth, you don't have to disclose it. You can just prove that you are above 21. All these options are available in the second concept of verifiable credentials, for which we have built. So we have built our product to support both kind of credentials. So let's go to the next screen. So Jason, do you want to kind of talk about the first one, which is the smart health cards?
Sure, yeah, I can do that. So a smart health card, similar to other types of verifiable credentials, has this model of an issuing organization needs the ability to digitally issue a credential and have it be signed so that it could be later tied back to them. And it needs to be able to be issued in a way where the patient or end customer can have a copy of it, and they're ultimately the owner of the credential. And it needs to be done in such a way that the holder can then present the credential to a third party that can verify that the credential is valid, that it hasn't been tampered with, and that it was indeed issued by the issuer. So a smart health card aims to solve this problem, specifically when it comes to healthcare records, and more recently, specifically to try to provide an easier way to receive and present a credential relating to COVID-19 vaccines or tests. So a smart health card is pretty similar to like a JWT. It uses a JWS, which is a JSON web signature. So similar to a JWT, it has three parts: a header, a body, and a signature. And in the body, we'll take a look at the next slide. You can see some of the claims that the issuer is signing. So you want to go to the next slide? So this is the body of the JWS. So it has the ISS claim, which says who issued it. So it's a URL to the issuer's website, and that is used to later resolve their public key, which is used during the verification process. There's the MBF, which is not before. So this says, since when is this credential valid? And the main claim BC is for a verifiable credential. So it has a subproperty type, which lists the different types of credentials that are included in this. So you can see this is a smart health card, and additional types would be a COVID-19 vaccine or test. And then in the credential subject is where you find the actual FHIR records. So there's a bundle which has multiple entries. Typically, the first entry is a FHIR patient record, which has minimal data about the patient, usually their name and birth date. And then subsequent entries would be like a FHIR immunization record, which has minimal details about the immunization. So this is the payload that is signed by the issuer and then transferred to the holder. Do you want to go to the next slide? So like I said, there's JWS is three parts: the header, payload, and the signature. So the header needs to include the algorithm ES256. And because ultimately these are going to be displayed as QR codes, they're compressed using the zip deflate method. So that is included in the header. And issuer may have many keys that they use to sign credentials. So there's also a header KID, which includes basically the ID of the issuer's key to specify which key was used to sign the record. And then in the payload, we see a compressed version of the data from the previous slide. And that's where all of the FHIR records are stored. So that's pretty much the format of smart health cards. And the goal is to provide an open standard that uses a bunch of existing specifications to enable the most interoperability between healthcare data. So a lot of these specifications have been around for a long time with JSON web signatures and the encryption keys and stuff. So turn it over to Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, please go ahead.
So we're going to do an example here of a use case. In this case, you have somebody who goes and they can go get their information from their insurance provider. The insurance provider is going to present this now as a verifiable credential, and then the user is going to be able to to send this to another provider. So this is a much better use case as opposed to kind of what you see today. Imagine every time you go to the doctor, imagine especially a new doctor, and you know all the paperwork you have to fill out where you're saying, I had this operation on this date, and I have these, all of these different health records, and at least I can never remember exactly what dates or what the exact medication name was or anything like that. So this can be one beneficial way to make it to where your records are held by you, and it's a lot more secure and easier to transfer this information here. So Ashish, you want to go ahead and play this video?
Sure.
Hello, and thank you for your interest in Pocket Cred. With the establishment of the Interoperability and Patient Access Final Rule, health systems are now required to provide patients access to their health information. The goal of this law is to liberate patient data with patient access APIs, while simultaneously encouraging seamless data exchange from payer to payer. And Pocket Cred offers a solution. With the power of blockchain technology, Pocket Cred gives users the ability to securely store digital credentials from electronic health record systems in a mobile wallet. In this way, the patient gains full ownership of their health information so that it is organized and accessible in seconds. Additionally, QR code technology simplifies the data sharing and verification process into one simple step. In this video, I will provide a brief overview of Pocket Cred's features. Let's log in as a member, Bell. On the homepage, we can see the member's details. This includes information like their primary physician and health contacts for easy reference. Selecting procedures from the bottom menu displays past procedures that Bell underwent. With just a tap of a button, she can easily store the data as a digitally signed credential locally on her mobile device. This also generates a unique QR code for quick and discreet sharing. So when Belle's visiting a new doctor, all she needs to do is present the QR code with the relevant data for the doctor to scan. With this, the digital credential is successfully shared with the doctor and verified to ensure it has not been tampered with. This concludes the demo. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And one slide too far. There we go. And we've made more progress on this app. We've done more integrations now. We have we can do the immunization records, and so we're making more progress on that. Ashish, you want to go to the next slide? Next one after that. There we go. Okay. And so the technology used in this, I mean, if there's anybody that's well versed in tech right now with cryptography, you're probably recognizing that this is fairly simple stuff. So an issuer can sign a health card verifiable credential with a signing key. So you use your private key and you just sign the data. The data comes in a regular JSON format, as we showed in that smart health card. And then we have our public key at this /.wellknown/jwks.json. That's becoming a pretty big standardized way of displaying your key stores publicly. So essentially, you inside this credential, you say, here's who the issuer is. You can go to this issuer's website /this, and it'll bring up all of their keys. So you can look at the public key and you can validate that this credential was indeed signed with one of those keys. And that's important to see that, if it says example.com/this, and you find that key and the signatures match, that that example.com is responsible for signing it. And then the wallets and verifiers use the public key to verify issuer signatures on health cards. So this is the first step. This is the basic structure for issuing credentials and then verifying that indeed exactly who issued this, and that the information hasn't been tampered with. Of course, the cryptography has been able to do this for a while. This isn't a huge leap or anything like that, which is why we push forward, and we're actually introducing new tech beyond that. You want to go to the next slide? Okay, and then I don't remember if Mahesh or Ashish is wanting to take over here, but please go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of to summarize, what you saw so far is the use of the smart health card technology, right? Fairly straightforward. There's also, Kevin pointed out at the very end, how do you discover the public key? There's a way to discover the public key, but how do you trust the person that issued the public key, right? That's why you need a trust network on top of that. Again, baby steps are being taken. The Vaccine Credential Initiative, for example, publishes a set of well-known public keys. You can go and look for it. It's just a JSON file that they have vetted all the public keys in there to say, hey, this is, this is Boston Medical, and this is Cerner, and, so on and so forth. So that's step number one. Step number two is to use something like the sovereign network, right? Hyperledger In-depth. And what we ultimately need is a network of networks, right? Because there's not just one network. Sovereign is a very popular one, very familiar to this audience. But there are others. IBM has one. Actually, they built it on top of Fabric, not on top of In-depth. So there are many emerging networks, which are both what we call trust networks, right? How do we make sure that the public key that somebody says that they gave is from a reputable company and they are doing what they are doing, right? Or anybody can just publish a public key and then sign any kind of document and it will be acceptable. So I know Claudine had a question, in the video we showed, how do we, for example, somebody providing, a copy of the CDC card, which can easily be, duplicated and so on. We'll address that. That is a huge issue today. And there are some mitigations for that, but we'll address that a little bit later. But the first one is the one of the trust network, right? So anyway, this is the full Monty that I talk about, which is with thanks to the technology built by Evernym agents. So we have built on top of that. We are able to offer us an alternative solution wherein a verifiable credential is digitally signed, not with the elliptic key cryptography 256 that you just showed, where you just have a digital signature for the whole document, but more sophisticated cryptography, such as the Kamenisch Lysianskaya signature or CL signature, or the more evolving, which is the BBS plus signatures, by which it is possible for us to only present one attribute at a time and even do composite attributes. So suppose you have on your wallet multiple credentials, you can do a composite attribute, pulling something from your digital driver's license and something from your COVID-19 vaccine credential, and you can combine all these things, right? And you can even do zero knowledge proofs wherein you say, hey, my age is about 21. That's all you need to know. So all those complete set of features are made available in what we call the second version of our product. And Ashish, go ahead to the next slide. So here, I kind of skipped over the details of the previous slide so that I can cover it here. So it is the same three-party interaction. There is an issuer who digitally signs a digital document, but the digital signature here can be much more sophisticated using a slightly higher level of cryptography. The holder holds the credential. The communication between the issuer and holder uses DIDCOM so that there is a secure channel established by an initial exchange of keys, public-private key cryptography again, and you can transmit the information securely to the holder. Same thing, holder first establishes DIDCOM with a verifier, secure communication channel. Verifier can ask whatever questions that they want to ask. The holder optionally can say, yes, I'm ready to answer this. But the holder, like I said, can set up a verifiable presentation that can be a composite of multiple things. It can hold zero knowledge proofs, and it can even dictate the terms in which the verifier can use this data. For example, it can specify the terms of use and say, no archival, please, which means the verifier need to respect this. So this is, in my mind, this is what the recently published Good Health Pass initiative recommends, again, stages, but recommends this level of technologies where we all want to be, which will allow us to do this presentation. Again, remember in the previous smart health card example, we could only do, like a QR code with some minimum amount of data because the QR code itself is limited. But in this kind of technology, you could have multiple credentials because, again, the verifiable presentation can be made in such a way that it is happening over DIDCOM. It's just not reading a QR code. The QR code in this concept is just used to establish the DIDCOM communications. So it's we can have a sophisticated exchange of credentials using this technology. Next slide. So again, what is the role of the verifiable data registry? So there are the three parties involved. The fourth party is the verifiable data registry. And the data registry in our case is sovereign. So that way a public key can be registered with sovereign. You'll also see quickly in our final technical presentation as to how we can create schemas. And the schemas themselves are also stored in the registry so that you can have a much richer interaction by which, of course, not only can the public key be verified by looking at INDI or sovereign, which is the implementation of INDI, but also the schema definitions can be retrieved from there. I mean, there are multiple intermediate standards too. I don't want to go into every one of them, linked data signatures and so on and so forth. But in essence, the verifiable data registry, which is the blockchain, can be used for these two purposes. Remember, no actual PII data, no credential data is ever stored in the data registry. It's very important when we talk about using blockchain technology for this, we need to understand that. Next, Ashish. So how does this, I'll just go over the verification concept, right? So you have a credential or a set of credentials stored in your wallet, and we'll show you this here shortly. And you first read a QR code from the verifier. That is merely to establish DIDCOM. The verifier says, hey, talk to me. There's a DID exchange, secure channel is established. And then the verifier says, hey, show me your COVID-19 credential information, right? So on the holder side, you make a verifiable presentation. The presentation is verified. The public key is checked against the blockchain. The schema is checked against the blockchain. And now, you're able to, the verifier is able to, and then the verifier needs to follow the protocol specified by the presenter, which say based on their terms of use. And if he says no archival, all he can just say is present a check mark, which says, yes, this looks good, or no, or whatever the case may be. And that's all they can do. So to us, this is the most, secure way of conveying this type of information. Next. So we'll kind of show you this end-to-end flow in PocketCred as to what I talked about. It's built based on Evernym agents. Go ahead, Ashish.
Hello. Today I will be giving an overview of the PocketCred application in 2 easy steps. I will demonstrate the credential issuance process as well as how the information can be verified by a third party. In this scenario, a patient, John Doe, has just received a COVID-19 test and is requesting a digital certificate from his doctor or nurse. The left-hand view displays the doctor or nurse's screen, while the right-hand side shows John's mobile device. To begin the process, the doctor or nurse navigates to the Issue Credential page, which generates a form for the doctor or nurse to complete. I will fill in the credential details here. However, PocketCred can be integrated with any external health system, allowing data to flow in from an EHR or IIS, such as the Salesforce Vaccine Cloud. Selecting Issue Credential generates a unique QR code for the patient to scan using their mobile wallet. Now that the connection has been established, the patient may review and accept the credential. The mobile wallet utilizes the user's preferred authorization method, for example, password or fingerprint scanning, for an added layer of security. Now John may take his mobile device to a third party, for example, airport or sporting event, that may require proof of a negative COVID-19 test. Switching users, the third party's view is now displayed on the left-hand side. To verify John's credentials, the third party simply navigates to the URL that holds the proof request QR code. In this example, the base URL is app.pocketcred.com/verifier, and COVID test specifies the proof request type. This process does not require any login, so the general public may access this page. This empowers individuals to request COVID test verification for their own peace of mind. When John scans a QR code, he receives a notification of the proof request, where he can review the information that will be sent to the third party. John approves the proof request by selecting Share Attributes. No information is stored on the verifier. It simply checks the information, which returns a success or fail message. Now that John has completed the verification process, he is ready to enjoy the event, and the verifier can test the next person by selecting Start Over. This concludes the demo. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ashish, on.
Yes. So as Chieko explained that, we can integrate this application, PocketCred application, to any of the EHR systems. And we have done it for Salesforce Health and Vaccine Cloud, where we are directly issuing digital credentials for a vaccine from a Salesforce application. And we are doing this using the Avername agents in the background to issue the verifiable credentials. So I can quickly show you a demo which will explain this in more details.
In this video, I'm going to show you how the PocketCred application integrates with SalesforceWork.com. SalesforceWork.com is an electronic health record system released by Salesforce to specifically address the management of vaccines, tests, and contact tracing for COVID. In this scenario, a patient has just received an immunization and are requesting a digital certificate from their doctor or nurse. The patient's mobile device is displayed on the right-hand side of the screen, while the medical professional's view is displayed on the left. In the SalesforceWork.com application, the doctor or nurse finds the immunization that the patient would like a copy of and selects Issue Credentials. This generates a QR code for the patient to scan using their mobile wallet app. Here, we are using Evername's Connect.me app. The patient will receive a notification of the connection request. Once the patient has accepted the connection request, the immunization record becomes available to the patient as a verifiable credential. The credential is issued directly from Salesforce, allowing for a seamless integration with PocketCred. Now the patient may present the credential on their mobile device to a third party, for example, airline or sporting event that may require proof of immunization. PocketCred is a product built by Pravici and will be available in the Salesforce App Exchange. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to add that this product is already available in Salesforce App Exchange and can be used as a managed package along with the Salesforce Health and Vaccine Cloud to issue the digital credentials for the vaccine.
All right. So this next one, I was going to have Jason just walk through some of the details of schemas and proofs, but I don't want to miss out on some important things, especially some questions that typically come up. So let's do this. We have 15 minutes left. Let me cover the next few slides quickly. If there are not too many questions, we'll come back and play this video. Of course, all these videos are available publicly in our website. It will be available, links will be available from this PowerPoint presentation, which Hyperledger folks will upload. So there is no issue. We can always come back to this. So quickly, let's go over the next one, just in the interest of time, Ashish. Thank you. Yeah, so let's talk about challenges, right? So one of the first challenges that we, were working in this area with a number of prospects is, while it's great to talk about issuing a credential when you get the shot, that is just not the focus right now. People are trying to get as many shots as possible. Maybe in the next few rounds, when this is the new normal, wherein just like the flu shot, we are going to get this COVID shot every year, or a booster or something like that. They already talked about a booster now. Then it may be possible. So what do we do right now, right? So there is a whole bunch of things that are getting done. Employers are, and the schools, for example, I know ASU right here. If you want to disclose your vaccine information, they ask you to upload some proof of vaccination. Yes, those things can be faked, but I guess they make a determination, based on you. And employers are doing the same. Some other employers are saying, hey, we'll give you some, some kind of a deal, we'll give you $100 or gift card or whatever. If you take the vaccination, either they themselves conduct the vaccination and they therefore have some proof of vaccination with them, or people submit some record and they're able to claim their reward. So all these things happen, right? And so basically in these systems, it comes to the person, the holder, providing some information based on which somebody like an employer or somebody else makes or a college makes a determination. Yes, this looks genuine enough. Yes, it's possible that they faked it. I guess they have consequences to that if they later find out and so on. But the bottom line is that's the reality today. Issuing it directly seems to be a very, very difficult problem because this technology has to be seamless and built at the point of consumption, maybe for the next round. So we find that use case, even though it's nice to show, doesn't really work, right? So Ashish, sorry, go to the previous slide again. I just wanted to, yeah. So the next one is retrieving vaccine data. There is a rule, and I won't go into the details, but the bottom line is, at least as far as your COVID-19 vaccine goes, it has to be reported to the state immunization system. At least that is the rule. It's not true for all the other vaccines, but for COVID-19, since the federal government paid for it, they made that into a rule. So every provider ultimately supplies this. But the state immunization information systems are not all up to speed. They are not designed for this onslaught of information. So they are at various stages of development to allow third parties like us to allow us to interact with them via API so that you can identify yourself, the records can be matched, which is a whole separate set of issues that come with that. And then hopefully you'll be able to do this. Some states like California have done this. We showed you a URL up front where you can get a smart health card if you are in the state of California, provided that your demographics match. That is a separate problem in itself, which will require some more efforts. For example, the state might have to run a call center to do this and so on and so forth, right? So that's a little bit of a more complex issue that also needs to be resolved. I think if this is here to stay with us over the years, these problems will be resolved. The other last thing is your health records are actually even your immunization record, if you have an insurance, will ultimately land up in the EHR systems of the insurance provider, because they are actually not paying for the vaccine, but they are paying for the administration. So someday it will be there. And then the use case that we showed you initially, wherein most people have a patient portal where they use some kind of, multiple authentication techniques, by which you are, ATP and so on and so forth, so that you can authenticate yourself as the real person to that website, your member portal. And hopefully from there, you can pull vaccinations, you can pull your procedures, just like what Kevin talked about, right? So that might be the actual real workable solution as we go into the future. So it's just a matter of you getting in there, pulling that record, saving it, and then from then on, you will be able to present it. Then the question is, what about the vaccine record itself? And this is where the Good Health Pass initiative, for example, came up with a list of recommendations. The Smart Health Card is kind of a simpler working version that we showed. There are others. The IATA Travel Pass is actually built on the Evernym stack. So there is a host of them, and hopefully we'll all converge to one or two or three of these standards. And like I said, even within that, there is, what is the cryptography that is used? Do you use selective disclosure? All these things will kind of mature. We are still in early stages. And then I talked about the whole issue of public key discovery. Trust frameworks need to exist. And then we need to have the concept of a universal verifier, so that by using the DID method, sovereign, we'll be able to go to the sovereign network, and some other network, you'll be able to go to that, and the IOTA network. And if it's VCI, it is just a flat file or a flat database. So hopefully we'll have a universal verifier that is being built in. And I know, for example, the CCI Chief Architect John, who is very much part of the whole TOIP and the Hyperledger environment, and his team are trying to get some standardization going in here. And lastly, the very last thing is, what is the revenue model, right? How do we charge? Of course, we want to make the credentials free for public and the patients and so on and so forth. So that part, I think, is the way it's going to work. But what about, maybe the verifiers? If you have an interest in verifying this, an employer or a university, maybe we can charge for building a verifier. Because what really, if you have to get 1,000 students in, how do we make sure that it moves really fast, right? So that's something that we have to think about. So the verifier is just not verifying something, but probably kicking off a workflow like opening a door, notifying somebody, doing something, right? So, and that's where companies like us come into play. We can work closely with an employer or a university or whosoever and build a verifier that kind of integrates it to their workflow. So I'll stop there, and I think there is another question.
Yeah, I think Claudine has a couple of questions, and I wanted to invite Claudine to maybe come off of mute.
Sure.
If she's interested to discuss maybe her questions. If not, I'm happy to read them out for her. Claudine, would you like to come off mute? Oh, okay, she can't. Okay, so her first question related to whether or not when the health immunization card is scanned, if it converts to a W3C credential. She asks, is the holder in effect acting as the trusted issuer, and in that case, converting from tangible source to digital, and how can one assure the authenticity under that circumstance? And then I'll go to the second question since it's related. So she says that she understands the credential issuance and holding part, but what's not clear are the various and limitless scenarios where the holder / verifier pair is associated with verifications, where one holder and many verifiers, such as a bank, an airline, a sports facility with different data requirements. So are there specific schemas needed to be developed for each verifier holder pair? Or would there be a standard verification template where the verifier can select data attributes from a library, generate a QR code, connect with the holder, and then hope the holder has the information requested to respond with?
All superb questions, right? The first one I kind of addressed before for Claudine, which is, yes, in a perfect world, we should be, having the person should be able to authenticate themselves against a state immunization system via APIs. And then that is the guarantee. You typically, the authentication now is you put in your first name, last name, your date of birth, and your phone number. And if it matches your COVID-19 record in the state immunization system, then you get a user ID and password. Then you can log in. There is two-factor authentication, and then ultimately you are able to retrieve your record and store it. That's the ideal situation, Claudine, that there is. Or better yet, if it is fast enough and efficient enough, when you take the shot in your doctor's office or wherever, or take a test, we will issue you. Okay, so those are the true answers, but the real world answers is people are submitting some kind of proof, others are kind of looking it over and using your trust network, right, to say, yes, your proof seems to be somewhat okay. I know CDC cards can be faked, but you have consequences for lying, right, whether you're an employer or a student, right? So that's where the world is today, and we'll hopefully evolve to further verification as we go down the tube. The second question that you had is a very good one about the standardization of these formats, because if you have just like a verifier, how in the world do you know what questions to ask and what that person holds, right? So again, that's where the VCI, smart health card, the whole the schema itself is laid out with the options, certain optional fields, certain required fields, along with principles of data minimization, saying, hey, you cannot put random things about the person into this. For example, the smart health card specification clearly says you cannot use this as an identity. You can only use it to cross-reference his last name, first name, date of birth, and phone number or something like that with some other identification system. So there are, in short, in every area, the Good Health Pass initiative, again, has spent quite a bit of time documenting what a schema should look like. So it is case by case for COVID-19 vaccine, for COVID-19 test, proof of antibodies. So these are the three areas that they're trying to standardize the schema. And in a perfect world, those schemas should be well published, and any verifier should take into account that particular thing. So that's where we are today technologically and in terms of standards, but we are all evolving towards hopefully a better world.
Awesome. Thank you, Mahesh. And I actually have a question for you myself. So I live in New York City. New York State has this Excelsior Pass, and it's actually, we are actually being required to show proof of vaccination in order to be able to go indoors in many locations. I just actually saw a notification earlier today that, we have the Governor's Island, which is a popular place to go and visit, and anywhere you go in there, you're going to have to show proof, either with your card or using the Excelsior Pass, which is on the phone. And I was curious if you wanted to comment on that, how similar or different the Excelsior Pass is from what it is that you've developed. Right.
So they're all approximately the same technology. It's just different levels of maturity, right? So I believe the Excelsior Pass does conform to the smart healthcare standards. I'm not 100% sure, which is very similar to what we showed in the very first piece of our presentation, which is, it's kind of a more simplistic approach, which is, hey, generate a QR code so that you can present either a paper credential or you can present it as a digital credential, like on a phone, right? The second one, which is the one that Good Health Pass and others are ultimately driving towards, a more sophisticated one where you are not exchanging the, you can't just print it out and take it, right? The QR code is, in that context, is very different. It is actually a verifiable credential which is stored in digital form and signed. And therefore, that is the more, robust one. We will get there someday. So each of these technologies, that's the full spectrum. It's either a very simple QR code or it's a more sophisticated DITCOM kind of thing. I know IBM's technology, which is the one that is behind Excelsior Pass, they have the capability to do everything. But that would be a great example to point out where everybody needs to come together, right? IBM, for example, uses of Hyperledger fabric-based blockchain for the resolution of public keys, which is a little different than what Sovereign does, right? So we are all at using the same underlying verifiable credential technology. At the bottom line, when it comes to the credential itself, it conforms to the VC model, but the VC model does not say what attributes you need to use and so on. It just gives the framework. So we are all on the framework. We are all trying to agree what is the, so that each of us become interoperable. That will take a little time. Yeah, that's kind of a long-winded answer to say yes and a little bit of no.
Well, thank you so much to the Pravici team. This has been a really fascinating presentation and so incredibly relevant to what we are all going through and living through and needing to use some sort of verification of our vaccination status. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Again, you'll find the slides on our events page. You can also find this session on our YouTube channel as well. We do have more of these sessions coming up. So on September 8th, we have Oracle, and on September 15th, Thales. And I wanted to also, if I can get the slide to change, oops. Draw anyone to look at sessions from our global forum back in June. We have such great information, so many great use cases and examples like what we heard today from Pravici, in addition to our regular member webinar series. Again, you can find all of these on our YouTube page as well. And as always, the Hyperledger community is open and welcome for anyone to get involved. There's many ways in which you can contribute to the community, leverage our technologies, join our various work groups, and find what you're interested in learning about. Thank you so much again, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.